Fantastic. Great to be here. We're picking up after a short break. And yeah, I'm very excited. Day five of the 14-day challenge. Really excited. We've done some really good stuff this past week. How to write super songs, how to, oh my God, there was so much stuff. How to write super songs, how to
the artist subscription model,
creative subscriptions, SaaS,
creative differentiation,
red ocean, blue ocean.
Yeah,
so much very, very useful stuff to anyone who's an artist that works with artists in the music industry.
Yeah, good stuff for sure. So
another chapter today, moats, right?
Moats. Yeah, moats. We're going to talk about moats as like a protective tool around your art and your career. So yeah, let's jump in. Let me grab a little coffee here and then we'll fire us up here. So the context around this module, Dynamitri, and why I love it is that it's a tool to protect you. Artists have some blind spots that we'll talk about, some Achilles heels, and this is a great tool to kind of prevent those things from killing your career. And how it adds value. Artists have they're great at working on the day-to-day stuff of their career, but it's really hard for an artist to pull up to 50,000 feet. So this is a tool to help you work on your career rather than just work in your career. The struggle most artists face is that they're in the trenches doing the work, creating the stuff, and they don't really have a true north or direction to pull up to 50,000 feet and take a look at their career and say, okay, how's this going? What's working? What's not working? So this is a way to kind of eliminate that limitation of yourself. A lot of developing artists just kind of work on music only, and as they graduate up to deploying artist or dominating artist, you have to be able to monitor yourself. It's kind of like air traffic control. You got to know where the plane's going and steering the thing. So my struggle is, like, for years, this was my problem. We were making records, producing records, writing songs, and it was always output mode, output. And then a while ago in our co-venture with Garth Brooks' company, Bob Doyle, who we'll talk a little bit about today, this is something I learned from him. As he works with Garth, there's really a strategic approach to what they're doing. Him and Garth work great together, so we've used this for years now, and we learned it from Bob. So the goal for this mod, what I want you to achieve, is to get familiar with a tool to protect you and to steer your career. I think we could think of it like handlebars. And we've built this out with and for artists for years. So I just want to kind of give it to the group here and help them start using it today. So
very useful tools by the sounds of it. Very useful. Very helpful.
It's significant. Because yes, artists need to be creating great music and great experiences, but at the same time, you need to pull up to 50,000 feet and work on your business rather than just in your business. So let me share a screen here, Dynamitri, and we will kick off the party. All right. You see that?
Yes.
All right. So build a moat around your music. We want to fill your gaps in order to find your better future. So this is a tree. If we back up kind of how we started originally, this is a healthy tree. It's not going anywhere. Its root system is in place. It's not going to get blown over. This is an immature tree that a big wind or flood will kill the tree. Artists are a lot like trees, so this tool helps us really become more like this and less like this. So let's talk about moats. For those of us that aren't familiar with it, back in the Middle Ages, there were castles, kings, and dragons and all that stuff. And the thing they wanted to protect was inside the castle, right? And there were marauders, there were people that wanted to come in, pillage it, and take the castle, right? There was something valuable in there. So this is the metaphor we're working with. As artists, you're the castle, like your health, your creativity, what you're producing, your IP is inside the castle. So we want to protect the stuff that we want to protect the golden goose. We don't want to burn out the golden goose. Historically, labels have just kind of burnt out artists, you know, go till they implode. And too bad, so sad. The artist is on heroin and a drug addict and can't create music anymore. So we don't want to burn out the golden goose. We want to, the artist needs to be healthy, needs to be creative, needs to be profitable. So we want to create that 20-year career rather than a 3-year career. So if you're new to Moats, let me introduce you to how this works. There's different slices of a moat, and this could be your music. Like this is the thing you're best at. And what we want to do is fill out the rest of the moat to protect the castle, right? So before we jump into moats, let's talk a little bit about strategy and tactics, okay? Strategy is the high level directional decision making of a career. And this is where moats kind of do both. Historically, there's been either strategic people or tactical people. And what's beautiful about this is that the moats help you connect those two and integrate those two things. So if you're a small regional artist with maybe 2 or 3 people on your team, it helps you align the tactical day-to-day stuff with the strategic high-level direction making stuff. So here's the ground air traffic control up here, and here's the artist trying to do all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the artist can get burnt out, right? The artist can't do everything themselves. So here's a couple examples in our space, Bob Doyle and Garth Brooks, who for years have been kind of that strategic person and the tactical person. They work together beautifully, and there's a tight trust and tight alignment there. Just a number of wins every 3 years. They're doing something incredible together, whereas most artists have a 3-year career, because I think largely because of this relationship here, Garth has had, what is it, 30-year career now since the 90s. And it's largely because there's a strategy and a tactical layer to their career, and that's aligned. Another great partnership in history is Belichick and Tom Brady. Belichick's the coach steering the ship from the sides, but Tom Brady is that tactical artist on the ground, doing the day-to-day stuff. So as you're building your career, you want to be thinking, okay, I'll be the Tom Brady artist, but I need somebody to kind of be that Bob Doyle for me, or that Bill Belichick. And something that kind of frames this is like, good players capitalize on the field, great players capitalize off the field. So yes, that field is important, the stage is important, but what happens on the Monday morning is just as important as what happens on Saturday night at a show or on tour. Okay, so we're going to talk about what that Monday morning meeting might look like. So let's talk about moats. In any war or any competitive game, you have your defense and you have your offense, right? Your defense protects where you are now, right? It's a protective mechanism, and it allows you to take more chances and be on offense. Okay. If you don't have a defense, something protecting you, making you impenetrable in a sense, you're in a dangerous position, because if a storm comes or a virus comes, or any number of things that we can imagine happens, you're in a bad situation. Offense can then score some points, like new initiatives, new campaigns, new deals, new partnerships. All these types of things become possible because you have your house in order. And you don't burn out, right? You can rest, you can get your psychological creative juices flowing. So some things that moats do is that they strengthen you, right? Moats save you money. Moats make you money. They extend your abilities. They add IQ points, and it helps you work 24 hours. And at the end of the day, moats are fantastic for filling your gaps. If you are the best in the world at writing songs or connecting with an audience, your moat is what strengthens that and propels that into the future. Some attributes of moats before we look at one. Moats are repeating. It could be something like a standing schedule, like every Friday, we're going to look at our sales numbers. Moats are very narrow. They're specific. So if we say, okay, every Friday we're looking at our numbers and we're going to fix we're going to try some things and tune those things in a very narrow sense. Moats also deal with avoidance, the stuff that we hate, like the stuff we don't like to do. Like I'm about to walk into a accounting meeting and it's like not something like if I could avoid that, I would totally do that. But I know that that's part of our moat. Like you can't grow until you can really bottle that and put that in a system. Moats also do actual work for you. It focuses you and it frees you up. So where to look first? As you're just starting thinking about moats and using a moat, you want to find your gaps and think about what can fill those holes. So you want to look at what you hate. You want to look at what you're bad at. And you definitely want to look at what you're avoiding. This is kind of like adulting, right? Developing artists can avoid this stuff, but as you move from developing to deploying to dominating, you can't avoid this stuff. You have to pay attention to it because that's how you become a thoroughbred headliner. So let's look at components of a moat here. This would be for, a healthy, profitable, deploying or dominating artist. Okay. So here's you in the middle, like you're writing your stuff and that's what you love to do. So what protects that? Let's just take a run around the bases here. And this is a hypothetical. It's going to look different for everybody, but this is something that you should see parts of these in all modes. Let's see. The first is your team. Okay. Like you can't win a Super Bowl as a Lone Ranger, right? Second might be e-com. Okay. We have something to sell. We're not just praying and hoping that we win a lottery. We're actually becoming a business, right? The third would be doing deals, looking at other people and saying, okay, what are they doing? And is there a way for us to collaborate together and to win together? Win-win, everybody makes money. Fourth, and this, Dynamitri, professionally, it's like, your social media, your digital footprint. I mean, you can't ignore that, but yet you can't only depend on that, right?
I mean, it's a very, 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 it's a very important part, but obviously it's not the only part, and it's not sort of the be all and end all of everything.
Yeah. And a lot of people think, they're going to be famous on TikTok, and maybe that's part of your strategy, but you have to turn that into a career.
And obviously it has to be sort of, planned, and it has to have a structure. It's probably a topic for an entirely separate session, but there are many cases of, people blowing up on TikTok or on Instagram Reels all of a sudden.
Yep.
And then not being able to repeat it because, it just was it wasn't a result of sort of hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, it might have been a result of hard work, but it wasn't a result of consistency,
Yeah.
and then you just blow up, you get, 100 million streams, and you get the Billboard, #1, but, artists don't actually know exactly what happened and what caused it, and they've got issues with replicating this, and this
Yeah.
happens so many times, so it has to be a structure, it has to be, well thought out.
That's textbook
yeah.
from American Idol on, it's like,
Yeah.
you have to have a platform. If you don't have a platform, you really can't do anything, so yeah, maybe next week you can take the ball and just do a whole training on social media. And then keep, streaming. How do you touch people that are in London and you're in Mexico? Streaming is obviously a great way to do that. Back office infrastructure, accounting, automation, all that, productization. How do you have an intelligent conversation about building out a product suite that people will pay for? Allies, partnerships, who are those half a dozen people that you can go to, say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think about this? So for ourselves, we go to Jody Williams, who signed Taylor Swift 15 years ago as a 13-year-old girl from Tennessee here. Jody has some insights and some context that adds value. He's fantastic. Launching products, that's a component of your moat. Touring, your show, your experiences, all those things. So, these are some kind of technicolor examples. Everybody's career is going to look differently, but these are some repeatable things that we've seen as we've built this out with and for artists over the last 15 years. So this is a moat, and how it works is this is super slow. You don't go fast on this. Here's part of our moat, part of our VA team out of India. She's fantastic. She's smart. She's communicative. She's able to get stuff done and fly in formation with us. So, it's people, it's, this is a great starting point. So as you start to build a moat, first you're probably going to have your music as part of your moat, right? That's the thing you love. This is day one. But as you mature and as your moat matures, and let me say too, Dynamitri, right here, if marauders came, you would be pummeled. Your castle would be taken because you don't have a moat, right?
Yeah.
If whoever, Universal came and said, hey, we want to sign you today, it's probably the worst deal you've ever signed because you have no leverage, right? So here's no moat. But as maybe year 2 grows, okay, now you have great music and a great show, and you're starting to build fan base. Okay, well, moat's kind of coming together here. Okay, now we have writing and differentiation and production and social. Okay, now we're kind of protected on this flank. Still vulnerable over here if a pandemic came or whatever, you're still vulnerable, but at least you're getting a moat in place. And then maybe for deploying artists, that middle tier, we have developing, deploying, and dominating artists. Maybe it looks like this, to where you have your audience, you have your story and message, you have e-com happening, and okay, you're kind of protected on 2 sides here. And as maybe this graduates into a dominating artist, okay, now you have accounting, you have legal, you have systems, you have a board, maybe a brain trust, you have a product suite here. Okay. And your music's still important, right? But it's protected. You've got you can go on offense now because you've kind of protected your defense here. So this is a rough example, but just to give people an idea of what, a maturing moat looks like. Here's a very dangerous developing artist, baby artist, just starting out. And as it grows and develops, there's some protection and some, fortitude in there. You're not gonna burn out here. You're protected. There's revenue, there's team, there's people, there's products. Um, so yeah, fulfillment, backing up, collaboration, habits, virtual assistant, all that stuff protects you. So what is actionable? What makes up your moat? This I want to give out to the group as just a starting point for you and your team. Print this out. We do this just on a sticky pad. We do it on the walls. So, print this out and start thinking about, okay, what is protecting our music? Is there anything protecting our music? And leave this up, put it in your closet, put it on a wall, and just start thinking about this slowly. One thing for sure here is I want you to go slow. What are you best at is probably going to be first up here. Maybe it's producing. Maybe it's connecting with an audience. I don't know. You decide with your team what you're best at, but you want to kind of slowly think about, okay, how do we build a moat and protect the music you're creating? And lastly, Dynamitri, as we're thinking about this, this is from the Hacking Music book. You want to go slow. You don't get this right today. You get this right over time. First off, first time you do this is like the dust. You're clearing out the dust. You're probably going to come up with some bullshit answers, right? Just to say, hey, I'm doing a moat here, right? That's expected. But then you get into the dirt, you get a little deeper and you go slower and you're like, oh, your hands are dirty. You're really starting to, maybe this is 3 months from now. You're going, oh, you know what? My buddy who's great with video is I could ask him to be part of this, And then the slower, the deeper you dig, you get into the diamonds. And that's where it gets really some home runs, right? You really start to win some Super Bowls. So go slow. Don't be impatient. Expect for it to be incremental.
And I think that's never enough stressing the fact that everything takes time and you never go from 0 to 100 in a day or a week, and this is something that I feel, sort of American Idol has, it's an unfortunate legacy of American Idol that a lot of upcoming artists sort of misunderstand as a reality of the music industry, because they see someone who comes up on a show and they never heard of this person before. And all of a sudden, like 3 months later, this person has got a Billboard, 100 #1. Whereas the reality is that, well, A, things don't happen that quick in the real music industry. Plus B, even those people who go on American Idol, they had been doing that thing for years. They are not just plucked out of nowhere. They're not amateurs.
Right.
They've been, gigging for years. They've been making music for years, just not on a national or international circuit. They might have been doing this locally, but it's still years of practice and hard work.
Right. And the question at the end of the day, the net is, are you building your platform? And those artists on American Idol are building American Idol's platform. So we need to flip that and say, okay, I'm building Dynamitri's platform, right? Very different conversation, very different deliverables for that. And you want to think, somebody said, Stephen Covey, who wrote The Habits of Highly Effective People back in the 80s, he talked about the law of the farm. And what he meant by that is that there are patterns, there are seasons, and you can't go fast. You can't trick your way into this. You can't win a lottery. You can't, it's not fast. You want to go slow and treat it like you're farming something, like you're growing songs. The first 100 songs you're going to write are crap songs. The next 100 songs, those are kind of good, right? So it's like you're growing songs and thinking like the law of the farm. And that applies to your show, that applies to your e-com, that applies to your team. So that's what I have for us today. Dynamitri is just the idea of building your moat around your music and protecting your music.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Very, very valuable lessons again. Really enjoyed it. Hope that it was helpful to everyone watching. If anyone has any questions, please drop them in the comment section below the video. We'll get to answering them, and we'll be back tomorrow.
At 9 Central Time. See you there, guys.
Yeah.
strange how the world distorts our shape. Funny how you seem to feel better once again you turn away. Don't be afraid to let me wake you up. You never get the things you want to confined by fear to try. All your inhibitions just contaminate your mind. Let me steal your sorrow, my appetite for you runs wild. Things in secret that you dream of, make them come to life. Hey, let my words infuse your mind. Ignite a magical flame, but once again you break your gaze. Don't be afraid to let me burn you up. You never get the things you want, too confined by fear to try. All your inhibitions just contaminate your mind. Let me steal your sorrow, my appetite for you runs wild. Things in secret that you dream of, make them come to life.
I ain't scared of nothing but failure. Listen here, let me tell you, I'm on the red eye from Egypt tonight. We got so much against us, but it still feels right. You so electric, boo, you turn me on like a light. Our body chemistry won't allow us to fight. The adrenaline rush seems to give me wings, and it's not about sex. I love hearing you sing. Those jewels are superficial, baby, you my bling.
You never get the things you want, to confine my feet. All your inhibitions just contaminate your mind. Let me steal your sorrow, my appetite for you runs wild. Things in secret that you dream of, make them come to life.
Adrenaline rush seems to give me wings, and it's not about sex. I love hearing you sing. Those jewels are superficial, baby, you my bling. It's the keys to my kingdom, baby, you my queen. I'm on the red eye from Egypt, baby, on my way.